We have a massive New York Rangers update to go over today as it's finally happening. The Rangers are making a significant move, and it looks like one of their highly touted prospects is making his way to New York, and he will not be playing in the AHL. This has major implications for Chris Drury's plans moving forward and the team moving forward. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, it's free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now let's get right into it. Of course, the player I am talking about is Gabe Perreault, and it looks like he could be on his way to signing his ELC, his entry-level contract with the New York Rangers. And by all reports that we'll get to in a second, doesn't look like he's going to be reporting to the AHL on an ATO like some other prospects are. Looks like this player could be making his way to the Rangers lineup right away. It looks like he could be making the jump to the NHL, but let's get right into it. This was first reported by Emily Kaplan. Obviously, the fourth period as well. We'll get to that, David Pagnotta. And obviously, after Boston College, eliminated, all eyes are on NHL prospects. It doesn't sound like we'll get an announcement on Gabe Perreault and the New York Rangers today, but it's certainly a possibility. Obviously, the expectation is Ryan Leonard will sign with the Washington Capitals. He did just after this tweet and debut as soon as tomorrow in Boston. So it's happening. A lot of free agents are starting to sign with different teams. Maybe not guys who are obviously as highly sought after or highly drafted as guys like this that were going the last couple of days. But obviously, Ryan Leonard just signed his entry-level deal, and it looks like Gabe Perreault could be following suit. And I thought this was interesting from the fourth period, like I just mentioned. Add Gabe Perreault for the Rangers. Think there's already traction on that front. So they're already working on the ELC and what that looks like. And by all accounts, reports, whatever, again, this is from the BC Hockey Blogger. Breaking, I am hearing that sources that BC, or from sources I should say, that BC sophomore Gabe Perreault is signing with the New York Rangers, and that deal will be announced relatively soon. So from Emily Kaplan and a couple other sources, doesn't look like it's going to come down today, but it could be as soon as tomorrow. And they play the Minnesota Wild on Wednesday. That is the Rangers' next game at home. So what better way to bring in Gabe Perreault than at home against the Minnesota Wild? Now, there is something to that. If he does play this year, you burn a year of his ELC, right? Like, you only have 2 years left of him if he plays at the NHL. And the only way that makes any type of sense is if the Rangers make the playoffs this year, right? And he could help that cause. He's going to be shot out of a cannon if he comes straight up to the NHL this year. And that could help them make the playoffs. But again, only a handful of games left. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But this is from Johnny Lazarus too, and very interesting, words here on his podcast that maybe some other prospects are being, heavily weighed more than obviously Gabe Perreault. But I think Gabe Perreault is a great player, and maybe a lot of people are arguing that some other prospects might be more NHL ready. I think if Gabe Perreault is ready to come to the NHL, which I think he is, he's going to be shot out of a cannon. Like I said, he's going to inject some more life into this lineup, but they're running out of time. The Montreal Canadiens won again yesterday. They shoot back up into that wild card spot. The Rangers fall down, obviously tied in points, but Montreal has more games in hand, so it's going to be very interesting. And again, I could see some of these moves happening next year, but Gabe Perreault looks like he could come this year, and he can sign his 3-year ELC and still burn a year without playing a game for the New York Rangers if his agent pushes for this. We might as well give him a look, and that's the other thing. I would imagine his agent is going to push for that so he can make more money sooner, right? That makes a lot of sense. But when you look at the lineup and what it might look like with Gabe Perreault in just a few days' time, you got Gabe Perreault, JT Miller, Lafreniere. I mean, that is fantastic. I don't know about Lafreniere up there. I think Othman's been playing better than Lafreniere, honestly. I have to say that, but because it is true, I think, recently. But Gabe Perreault on that top line with JT Miller, I mean, those guys can do damage. It's just gonna be fun to watch, even if they don't make the playoffs. But again, I think the only way that this does make any type of sense is if the Rangers do make the playoffs. And I know they can't control that. Obviously, they would have to sign him before that happens. But it's going to look a lot worse if they don't make the playoffs. If they do, at least Gabe Perreault gets some NHL playoff experience against a team like the Washington Capitals. I mean, no better team to learn against than the Washington Capitals, right? So I think that is really a heavy team, a team that's been there before, obviously Alex Ovechkin. So really good there, and it lengthens your lineup a little bit. You can have Panarin with Trocheck and Othman. Othman's been playing great recently, and then you have Kreider, Mika, and Cooley on the third line, and then fourth line's been pretty good. Obviously, Matt Rempe's out due to an injury right now. That's why he wouldn't be there. But Brodzinski's been playing fantastic. Carrick is back in the mix as well, and obviously Brett Berard has been playing very well as well. So something to consider. Now, this is from Peter Baugh, and obviously Peter Baugh has some great insight. Been following him all season long. His sense is that if Gabe Perreault signs, if he signs, which it's looking likely at this point by all accounts, he will burn the first year of his ELC and go to the NHL. We'll see how it all plays out. So again, by all reports, it looks like he is going to be signing in the next few days, and he is going to burn a year of his ELC. And listen, his agent can push for that without him even playing. That can be something that happens. So why not play, right? But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And again, I keep saying it only makes any type of sense if the Rangers make the playoffs. They're going to sign him anyway. It's going to happen anyway. But what I'm trying to say is make the playoffs. Get this guy some playoff experience, because if you miss the playoffs, it's going to look that much worse burning a year off his ELC. That's the point I'm trying to make here. And this is from Vince Mercogliano, and he just tweeted this out not too long ago as well on Gabe Perreault. You can understand why he'd want to start the clock on his entry-level deal contract right away to get on the fast track to a bigger, more lucrative deal. Makes total sense. He and his agent could push for it, but from the New York Rangers perspective, I'd imagine they much rather start his ELC in the fall next year and have him, come over this year maybe on an ATO like some other players are doing to their respective clubs' AHL teams. And again, get the full 3 seasons out of it. I don't see that being the case. I really don't. I see 2 full seasons, and I see this year, and I hope that they make the playoffs this year so then he can get some playoff experience. But while everyone I've spoken to raves about Perreault's skill, his creativity, his IQ, he's a great player. He is going to be a very good player. I've heard skepticism about whether he's physically ready to play NHL games right now. Maybe they force the Rangers' hand, but a stint in the NHL might be wise as a stepping stone. I think that is true, and I think that's something absolutely, all things equal, to consider. I just don't think that we live in that world. I think that this is, the players now and their agents are saying we want to make as much money as possible as soon as possible, and for good reason, right? They have the opportunity to do it, so they want to do it. So I understand why, but it is a little frustrating because the correct course of action would probably have him be in the AHL to start. So do agree with Vince on that. And there's a 0% chance Gabe Perreault is playing in Hartford on an ATO. He's way too high profile. And I think that's it. Whether he's physically ready or not, there's too many, intangibles that come with it that he should be in the NHL right now. And maybe not should, but he's going to end up there, I think, if he signs his ELC. So it looks like it's coming down in the next day. We'll have you covered here on the channel if it does happen today or tomorrow. And I imagine it's going to happen tomorrow. And I would imagine that he's going to play on Wednesday against the Minnesota Wild. So things just got that much more interesting. Obviously, he wasn't expecting to be eliminated. This wasn't supposed to happen, but I think anything can happen in hockey. So it's going to be interesting to watch. And one last thing before we wrap up, just to dive into his stats very quickly. Obviously, this is the playoff race from a couple of days ago, but just to dive into his stats quickly. Former first-round pick of the Rangers just 2 seasons ago. And again, this season, 37 games played. He had 48 points. It's very difficult to score there as well. So putting up some great numbers. He's going to be a great NHLer, and I'm going to be excited. Everything aside, I think it would just be exciting to see him in the lineup Wednesday against the Minnesota Wild to see if the Rangers can still push towards the playoffs. I think he would inject some life into the lineup, and he'd probably score. Is he ready physically for the playoffs? Maybe not at the NHL level, but in terms of injecting some life into, a regular season game, he can be pretty electric. So it's going to be fun to watch. I imagine it comes down tomorrow, but I'll have you posted here on the channel if that does happen. So be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet to stay up to date with everything New York Rangers. And of course, let me know in the comments what you think about Gabe Perreault possibly making the jump straight to the NHL. I think it's going to be exciting. But again, let me know what you think in the comments. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.